Well, hello, folks. The 10 essential survival supplies, and you're saying 10 essential survival supplies. That means more than one. And we're not just talking about 10 items, and that is correct. Not just 10 items. How many of you think you know what these 10 are? Well, I'll tell you what they are, and what I'm going to be covering tonight. I'm going to be talking about fire. I'm also going to be talking about illumination, navigation, hydration, insulation, sun protection, repair kit, nutrition, first aid kit, and emergency shelter. So let's do the first one, fire. And if you notice here, right there in the very bold, no fires in Mount San Jacinto State Park. If you're camping there, you cannot start a fire. If you're lost, though, there are provisions because that is a safety measure. And what are we talking about safety? If you were literally lost, you can actually, it makes it hard for people to see you, but during the daytime, if you were seriously needed to have a help and you had the provisions, you could make a small fire, make sure you clear everything around so you don't start a forest fire, but a fire that has a lot of smoke will draw attention to exactly where you're at. In the evening, a fire also helps by providing warmth and also illumination. But here's what I'm going to show you here. And you look at that little display on that cookie sheet, what's the first thing that comes to my mind is I see the cotton lint and the cotton balls. Those are necessary to be able to start your fire. Oh, sure, we have kindling and tinder and the big pieces of wood, but you can't get those started. You need something that you can start before those items and then add them as your fire gets larger and larger. So we see here we have matches. The challenge with matches is they can get damp and they won't work, or you've got wind. We've got the wooden matches, a little bit better than a package of matches, but still, they can get wet and they don't work in the wind. Then we also have a little weatherproof container. Well, those are nice because it keeps your matches here somewhat dry, but you must put cotton inside. So one, you actually have something that you can start a fire with, but it keeps the matches from not rubbing against each other and self-igniting inside your backpack. And then you must also have a striker. Some of them come with a striker on the outside, and you may also end up actually having to provide a striker inside as a backup because that could get damp. Next thing, let's move on. And we've got a lighter. What's the problem with lighters? They can crack and you lose all that fuel. Then they don't work. You can get this yellow one that I have here. A little bit easier. Wind will not blow this out, but it still comes down to, do you have fuel? How long is that going to last? Lastly, I'm going to move on to Flint and Steel. And I've got a demonstration on how to properly use Flint and Steel. Let's watch this short little video and I will narrate it. So you can see it's kind of windy out. You can see it doesn't take long for that match to literally blow out. So let's try a second match. Oh, there it goes again. Let's try a third match. And let's see if we can get it even better and get it down closer to, oh geez, it just doesn't stay lit long enough to be able to light that piece of lint. And also that is cotton lint. It's from the dryer. It's not nylon. Nylon would just melt. And this is the flaw that a lot of people have. So let's throw that spark down there. That's not the proper method. You want to get the knife close to it, move the flint away from the knife. Sometimes it's not always the easiest in that it happens the first time every time, but this is going to happen here just shortly. But a good well-placed spark, we get this thing going. And you can see 2 out of 3 times I got it on the first strike. So that's how to properly use Flint and Steel. Do not try to throw the spark into it from a distance. It's not going to work. Let's move on to the next one, illumination. Flashlights or headlamp, those are very good. But how long do they last? Depending on the brightness, you should actually have extra batteries. My preference is to actually use the headlamp. That way my hands are free to do whatever I need to do, and my light is always shining where my head goes. But in addition to that, during the daytime, that headlamp is not going to do very well. But that signal mirror on my compass is great for land to air navigation, or not navigation, but for illumination, so you can shine at the helicopter or the searching plane that's coming around. They can see that light as you flicker it back and forth. Mirror. A whistle, not a metal whistle, but a plastic whistle that makes a lot of noise. You can hear my voice right now, but you move down to the end of the street, 200 yards away from me, you're not going to hear me talking. But if I blow that whistle, you are actually going to hear me. And the reason I also said plastic, if you get that metal whistle and it's cold outside, and I mean really cold, it's snowing, and you put your lips that are real nice and moist and warm on that metal whistle, it could get stuck. Now we've got a problem. And the last thing that's on here is the flagging. Why would I use the flagging? And this is just strange. Something just went strange here. We got to get back to this because I don't know what happened to this mouse. But the reason for the flagging is if you get lost, let's say it's best thing to do is to hug a tree. Well, when you hug a tree, nobody can find you. But if you put that flagging out in the open and put it to where it can be seen, now it makes a whole lot better because you can put it onto a branch and it will, as the wind blows, it will fly in the air and it can be easily seen. So that's the reason for the flagging tape. I suggest orange. So let's move on to navigation. Everybody's heard about the map and compass, and that is true. You need to have a map for the area that you're going and learn how to use that map with that compass. That's a whole special course just in an hour or more just on how to use a map and compass. But you need to have one. And right to the left of my compass there is a UTM reader. This is a Universe Transverse Mercator. It has a 1,000 meter by 1,000 meter grid, which will fit right over the top of this little 1,000 meter square. With a UTM reading, I can probably put myself within 50 feet of where you're at, and that you can't do with a map, without a lat and long, but UTMs will put me there. And within 50 feet, I will probably hear you, or you'll hear me and see me. GPS is a good, nice device to have, but remember, you need batteries, and they're a whole lot heavier than map and compass. Smartphone. We have a lot of hikers that use smartphones. Oh, yes, they're smart. They're so smart. We've got a flashlight. We can take pictures with them. We can keep our map on there so we can navigate. But wait, it needs satellite signal and it needs a battery. How long is your phone going to last without that solar charge or that extra battery cell that you have to bring with it to keep this thing charged? Map and compass doesn't require any batteries whatsoever. So let's move on to hydration. That is a very important thing. We must remember to keep ourselves hydrated. And I have on here extra water. Why extra water? Let me ask you this question. If you are thirsty, how much water do you need to bring you back to a normal hydration level? 20 ounces, is that good? How about that Gatorade? Is that going to make it? No, it's not. You need 1 liter of water. This happens to be a 1 liter bottle. That brings you back to normal hydration, but you're going to be out for 3 hours. How many times are you going to get thirsty in those 3 hours time? Thereby, you need to have the provisions to carry more water based on your outing. And that's the challenge, is how much do you drink? Because here's another thing that I like to use, and this is actually a water bladder. And with this water bladder, I can take a sip whenever I want to. I don't have to stop hiking. Fill it up, and this one actually holds 3 liters of water. That's a good amount of water. But what about our water sources? Are they always plentiful? And can we use them? In the lower left-hand corner, you can see there, in a little nice little ditty bag that's vented, is what they call a Sawyer water filter. There's a syringe there. That can be used for back flushing to be able to clear out that filter if it should get plugged. But it's not always that efficient. But it's lighter and doesn't require any batteries. Another item that's just to the left of it, or just to the right of it, is a UV filter. And you can see right here, it's got this little light that's shining. This is what I use when I go to trips abroad, because I can go in and I can fill out the water from the tap into my water bottle, and I can clear this water. In 2 minutes time, I have purified that water worth for drinking. A whole lot easier than actually taking a water filter, which is my go-to when I'm out hiking. I prefer this one. It's a little bit heavier, but I can do 300 gallons of water without having to change this filter. 300 gallons, that's a lot. Do the math. 5 people, 7 days, how long, and figuring at least a gallon of water a day per person. You can go all the way. Next, you got the green bottle. This is a nice one, and that you fill the water into your bottle, you put the cap on it, and now all you have to do is suck the water through the filter, and now you've got clean water. The challenge is trying to suck it out. Water's good, but as we are out hiking, we get sweaty. And when we're sweating, we're losing a lot of moisture. Also, when we are huffing and puffing, we're losing a lot of moisture. So with that, you actually need to have some way of replenishing your electrolytes. Like Gatorade bottle. Oh, that's a go-to for everybody. But have you ever noticed how much sugar is on this thing? 35 grams of sugar. There's a lot of salt in it, but there's also only 60 milligrams of potassium. Oh, it goes down good. But here's my go-to source. I actually like coconut water. This coconut water has only 50 milligrams of sodium, salt, where this one will have 250 milligrams. But with that salt, you also lose potassium. Potassium is a very good number or item that you need, 620 milligrams. This one only has 60. My preference is to use some coconut water along with my Noon. This is what I use for electrolyte replenishment. And you can also use, as you can see there to the left of that 0G or the G0, is some goo. And there's also some shot blocks. Those are other items that can help with your water. So another one, Purification Tablets. But let me give you a little side tip on Purification Tablets. It takes a half an hour after you put it in that water before you're actually able to drink that. You're thirsty now. You don't want to wait. The other purification filters are better, and the purification tablets can also alter that taste. Tastes like iodine. So I've talked about the electrolyte replenishment, and now we're going to go on to insulation. Extra clothes. Well, geez, I'm only going out for 3 hours. Let me ask you this. If you should trip and fall, and you hurt your ankle and can no longer walk, do you know how long it's going to take for search and rescue to come out and find you and get you out from where you're at? Especially if you're hiking by yourself. And how many of you hike by yourself? I bet a fair number of you do. But here's what I like to tell you. Go out with a group smaller, no smaller than 4. One person gets hurt. One person stays with that person. If you have only one other person to go get help, it's easy for them to get lost, but it's harder for 2 people to get lost. That's the reason of 4. But extra clothing. Have you brought enough provisions to be able to spend the night at 40 degrees? And yes, you should know what those temperatures are going to be in that evening. So you need to prepare. So here's your extra clothing. You can see I've got a vest up there. That's also not cotton. I have a fleece jacket, long sleeves, layers, people, layers. You can also see I've got down there some long johns. It's not cotton. I've got a little mask here. This one's for my ears, and this one is for my mouth and my neck, and very easy to apply. Because you can actually be out there in really cold temperatures. And these are very light. They fold up very well. And one thing people don't realize, the importance of a hat or a beanie. 60% to 80% of your body heat is lost through your head. If you do not have it properly covered, you can lose a lot of temperature from your body. And what does your body like to stay at? 98.6. And if it's not 98.6, your brain's going to start cutting off the circulation of your fingers and your toes. Those capillaries are the farthest away from your heart, and that's why your toes and fingers get coldest the quickest and the fastest. So that's why you need gloves. But if you look at finger gloves, each digit is individually wrapped. How much warmth is in that one little digit? You can see there are those orange mittens. Those are actually better because now you've got 4 digits next to the palm that all of these can provide the heat and actually make the hand warmer. And you can see that if you need to have the finger dexterity, you can quickly move over the cover, and now you've got your fingers exposed and you can move them. Above the gloves, and that is a buff. Very easy. They're very versatile. They can fit over your head. They can cover your nose. They can cover your mouth. And you see a lot of people wearing them right now, trying to keep their breath from getting your breath to where you have it. Rain jacket. Oh, that's in a different, no, here it is. Here's your rain suit. If you should get lost and I'm coming out, folks, I don't carry an extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large, and double XL. I carry one size. You may be small, but you're going to get that 3-piece rain suit or that 2-piece rain suit. You can see you got the jacket, you got the hood, and the pants. We may end up having to tie a rope around to make them sure that they fit and they don't fall down, but you're going to have to get those cold, wet clothing off because you need to stay dry. I actually carry with me, and this is my windbreaker, and it's my Gore-Tex jacket. It's got a hood, and what I like about this jacket, it actually has venting on the sleeves. I can zip this open, and I can allow it to vent. And one thing that's nice about Gore-Tex, it will keep you dry and still allow you to perspire, and that heat or some of that moisture can leave out of the fabric. So we've talked about that. Now let's move on. I don't know why this went backwards again. Okay, here we go. So we talked about the extra warm clothes, the pants and the coat, layers, thin layers, many different layers, folks, not just big bulky layers. You put the bulky layer on, you're going to get hot. You take it off, you get cold. You put it on, off, on, off, on, off. You properly layer yourself with non-cotton. You notice I keep on saying non-cotton. We have a saying on the mountain, cotton kills. Because when it gets damp, it's going to stay damp, and it's not going to dry until you get home and put it in your dryer. Gloves, rain gear, and a beanie to keep the old head warm. With that, we're going to move on to our next slide, sun protection. Oh, everybody's heard about this one. Well, let's look at the sunscreen. That's a great one. But what about a hat to be able to protect you from that beating sun on your balding head? Ladies, you don't have that issues, but us men do. And sunglasses. Have you ever had sand in your eyes? That's what happens when you get too much sun in your eyes. It feels like you get sand in your eyes for 24 hours. It takes a while for all of that to dissipate. So make sure you have your proper sun protection. Repair kit. Those comes in various forms. Typically, we always just thought all you need to do is just have a pocket knife. But what about that pair of pliers or that piece of meat that got stuck in your tooth? And you can see we've got a pickup there that comes with the Swiss knives. I'm not saying you have to carry all of these items with you, but these are examples of things to bring with you. And as you see there, that pocket knife has got a lanyard on it. Now, why the lanyard? Well, if I'm out working and I'm on the mountain and I should drop my knife, it's not going to go far from me because it's tethered to me and it's not going down the hill. That's why I have the string attached to it, so it stays close by me. So let's look at the next item, the multi-purpose tools. You can see the wrench down here actually has a pair of pliers. It's got a can opener. Yes, can opener. How many of you ever heard the term John Wayne or the P38? Military terms for a can opener that doesn't have a crank arm, but it's very effective to open up that can of tuna or that meat. Duct tape. I have seen duct tape on backpacks. I've seen duct tape on shoes because they have separated and they need to be kept on. The cordage, that can be used to help make a shelter, or the shoestring breaks. You've got now a replacement shoestring with that 50-foot of paracord. It can be a paracord, very light, or you can use this type of cord that's right here. Very beneficial. And extra food, nutrition. There's a lot of various things you can do with food. I'm going to point your attention right there in the middle. There's a baggie with those M&Ms. And then there's that black stuff. That is trail mix. Also a trade name or a side name of Gorp. Even quantities of M&Ms, the sugar, and it also tastes good. And the next thing that you have in there is you've got raisins. Raisins have potassium. They also help keep your bowels lubricated, but also provide nutrients. And then peanuts. It can be salted peanuts. It can be almonds. What's nice about them, those are the carbohydrates. So when you're walking on your trail, take some trail mix. It gives you that energy. And those nuts are there to give you that boost at the end. But next to it, you can see I have a little bottle. That little bottle is just a used bottle of Parmesan cheese. I put my trail mix in there because I want to ask you, how easy is it to unzip a zipper of Ziploc, get the food out without dropping it on the ground while you're still walking, chuck it in your mouth, and then seal it back up. It's hard enough to seal it at home. Now let's add the vibration and the movement of your hands to try to seal that and stick that back in your pocket. I can take that lid off that bottle a whole lot easier, and I can chug what I want and keep right on walking. Right above it, you can see I actually have some peanut butter pillows. They've got some nice salt on them because when you're sweating, you're losing a lot of salt and you need to find a way to replenishment. I like that Chicken Creations. You can buy that also in tuna, various flavors, but great protein. To the right of it, you see the the peanut butter, another protein boost. Below it, the jerky. All of these are round and can be easily gotten. The trail mix, the jerky. To the right of that, at the top right, is Jolly Rancher candy. Well, why would we want to take candy? That sugar boost. Also tastes good and gives you that energy. Below that, looks like I guess some Cheez-Its. Again, snack food, carbohydrates. Your body's going to need those carbs. That's when it's going to give you that energy to keep on pushing. The banana, potassium. Dates, another source of potassium and high in sugar. The very bottom right, you actually have a package there. You can add water to it. And it's a nice powder and adds a little different protein and nutrients to your body. It may not be the most tasting, so we got apples to go along with it. You can see you've also got the power bars, the hammer bars for the raw energy, Pringles, nice little packages of salt, and back to the goo and the G blocks for the power boost. All of these are plentiful items, light. I'm not saying you have to carry them all, but you need to keep yourself the nutrient levels up. You may think, well, geez, I'm just going for a short hike. Well, what do you do in your normally day-to-day operations? You're sitting at a desk. You're not doing a whole lot. So, if you snack on the same type of food while you're sitting at your desk, you probably end up adding a few pounds. Well, now we're exercising. You need to keep that protein level going, or you can get yourself zapped, and now you're running out of energy, and you still are not back yet. So let's move on to first aid kit. I'm not saying to have a big first aid kit, but what you need to have is first aid kit for you. I've got some allergy medication down here. I've got some muscle relaxer. Do you have to carry them in the bottle? No, you can separate them out if you want to and put them in a small little baggie with some cotton to keep them from vibrating and powdering up so they don't taste any good. But I also suggest that you get some moleskin. That you can put on your blisters or on your foot before you get the blisters and help provide that padding to give you that ability to be able to continue to walk. And how many of us fall and trip or scratch our arms from that bush that's out there that's right next to us that we didn't see, that cacti that we ended up sticking? So I got the little bottle that you can see here, and that is actually new skin. It's like painting on right over the wound. It seals it up. Scissors are nice, tape, tweezers, antiseptic wipes. You build your own first aid kit for whatever you feel that you need. You don't need it for your buddy because they should have their own. What do you need to be able to make yourself being able to hike out and continue to be able to cover that wound so it doesn't get dirty and protect those hot spots in your feet before you get that big blister? And never take the moleskin off. Let it wear off, let it wash off. You pull that moleskin off, you're going to take that top layer of skin off, and now you've got that raw meat underneath it. That's very tender, not a nice idea to do. Lastly, let's move into emergency shelter. Emergency blanket. You can see the little silver package there, or this that's really nicely typed up. Right above it is the package. They're great, but you can't reuse them. They don't offer as much insulation as you would see with the larger, lightweight emergency reflective blanket to the right. You see there in the bottom left, we got that big circle. That's a tarp. Tarps may help with blocking some wind. They're not good for insulation, and they're not that nice little silver reflective color to be able to make it to where you can be seen easier by a helicopter flying over. A bivy sack is also nice. You can see they're very lightweight, they're very small, and can fit in your pack. So with that, folks, you're thinking, geez, that is a lot of stuff. How can I fit all that stuff in? Well, folks, it can be as small as a day pack. This is what I take with me on every hike, short hike. If I am needing more liquid, and I have to have the bigger hike, I use a bigger day pack. And I also want to suggest, folks, that when you're out hiking and choosing your clothes to wear, find something that is bright. Orange can be seen by your friends, search and rescue, and by helicopters better than that dark black or that brown, because you just blend into the background. And I also want to add a little tip. Depending on where time or what time of year you're going to be hiking, you may need to bring microspikes to give you that added protection when you're hiking in the ice. When you're hiking in the snow, snow gaiters to be able to keep your feet dry so the snow doesn't come up over the edges of your boot and fill up the inside of your boot around your sock, and now you got wet socks. This will protect that from happening. They also make desert gaiters so you don't get those rocks kicked up in your feet. Because lastly, what can end up happening is I may end up having to come out with this pack to find you. And this is 35 pounds, folks. And depending on the season, can be heavier. And depending on what we need, it may be heavier, especially going down Skyline Route when we add a gallon of liquid for us and a gallon of liquid for our patient. With that, folks, I've given you a little bit of tidbits of information, but let's review. Talked about fire, illumination, navigation, hydration, insulation, those extra clothes, that sun protection, that repair kit, and how to keep yourself properly with the energy level, with the nutrition, first aid kit, and emergency shelter. With that, I'm going to turn off the PowerPoint presentation, and hopefully we don't end up having to come up with a helicopter to come and find you. And I'd like to give credits to Teresa Gallen for the help with photography and the inspiration from the Mount San Jacinto Natural History Association, Park Rangers, and our Wilderness Patrol.
Royce, thank you so much. What a wonderful and valuable presentation. I've been hiking a long time myself, and I have never been so well prepared as I should have been. So perhaps it's just being lucky sometimes, but we all know what can happen when people aren't prepared. It can be a disaster. One question that I have is how to decide what to take when you just go on a day hike someplace, whether it's on the mountain or in the desert or at the sea. Obviously, you take something that may be essential for any predicament that you may get into, but can you carry all that stuff? So how do you make decisions about it?
You can. You don't have to have stuff that's going to keep you down to 30 degrees if you're going to be doing desert hiking. But what if it's going to be doing 50 degrees? Does your nice little short sleeve shirt and your short pants with no beanie going to keep you warm throughout the night? The biggest tip is, can you spend 24 hours in the location where you get hurt before help can find you? A minimum of 24 hours, because the first thing happens is you have to be deemed lost. Where were you hiking? Did you let somebody know where you were hiking so they know where to find you? Easier. And what time were you supposed to return? Tell them that you're supposed to return at 3 o'clock. If you have not heard from me by 6 o'clock, this is where I'm at. This is where you need to start looking. How many of us do that? And can we spend 24 hours where we are at? A minimum of 24 hours. And so that should be actually your measuring stick of how prepared you need to be.
Thank you. It's a very valuable, because so many of us do go out for short hikes and we think, oh, it's a beautiful day. I don't really need anything, maybe a light jacket or something at the most, and enough water. And especially in the mountains where the weather can change so quickly. We have a question from Adam, who says, are there case studies on different hikers getting hurt last and then experts breaking down what they could have done better? Case studies.
I am sure there are case studies out there. I do not have a book that I could, or a resource that I could put you to, but I do know that you can probably Google search and rescue and be able to find that information. I do, but I do not have a number for you. But I would let you know one thing. I would err on the fact that I'm carrying too much weight as opposed to not carrying the items and then finding out I get hurt. I had not let anybody know where I'm at and end up becoming a stiff, because you will be carried out on a litter, whether you're dead or alive. The challenge is, are you alive? The benefit with us, if you are dead, we still have to carry out. We get less patient complaints. That's a funny joke.
Okay. From Pat Wing, can you explain how the UTM works?
Pat, I would love to, but that's a full hour class and can very easily get everybody befuddled, and it's easier to do hands-on. But with that device, with time, and hopefully we can put that together in one of our Get Win programs, because that's what we actually ended up having in the past, was a map and compass that would also include the UTMs.
Okay. When we get a little bit further on after these questions, I'd like for you to just talk a little bit about what people, what we offer on the mountain during our summer class and field programs that might be, that not might be, but would definitely be a good experiential experience for, good experience for them. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. From Joy, she says, thanks, Royce, excellent. And I will certainly second that. Caroline, what do you think of Boost and Encore?
I'm not familiar with Encore, but I think Boost is similar, along with the G2 blocks, cliff blocks, shot blocks, as we call them. You got to remember, if there is too much, you don't want to take too much that you actually end up, it's like vitamins. How many vitamins is good for you? Like a vitamin C, do you take 2 tablets, or you take 3 tablets or 4 tablets? You may only need 1 tablet. Your body has to simulate all that stuff. So I would follow the manufacturer's recommendations on the packaging. That's the safest bet. I do not want to be a doctor, and I don't want you to come after me.
Okay, Caroline said, this is great. Thanks, Royce.
You're welcome.
From Jim and Judy, what, I'm not sure quite how to read this, but I'll read it exactly how it is and maybe you'll understand it. What a spot or Inreach?
Those are very good devices. We just had one recently where a lady was out hiking. She was able to message her name and the person that she was hiking with. We were able to quickly pinpoint the location, and we actually had boots on the ground heading out to find this lady and her friend, but they didn't stay where they were at. Luckily, our ranger, who was our incident commander at that time on that search and rescue, called up to the tram station and got a hold of the person at the turnstile. And lo and behold, that person that we were looking for was standing right next to him. 1 minute later, that person would have been down the hill, and we were still be hiking to that location, that last known location 45 minutes ago, because they did not stay put, and they did not cancel the Inreach SOS call.
Wow. That's an interesting story. Okay, Pat. Again, okay, thanks. Great presentation, Royce. From Tracy, which hiking sticks do you recommend?
Well, the first thing I would say is if you're out hiking and it's lightning is around or the air is so electrically active that your hairs are flying off your hands and your arms, I would not be hiking with aluminum poles. I would not want to make yourself a lightning arrestor. So I would use a composite pole. The second thing is I like to actually have them snap clip as opposed to being able to twist and rotate them in, because I've had them to where after a time period that it no longer sticks. But let me caution you on this. With that snap, there's a screw. Make sure that those things stay tight, because I've actually pulled my hiking stick out and found out that screw fell out because it loosened up in the vibration of being on my path. So make sure it's nice and snug before you head out. Does that answer your question?
It does for me. That's very good information. I had never thought about the lightning issue with respect to poles before. So you know a little bit more about how lucky I've been. From Adam, what was the device called? What was that device called? That the lady texted with?
Oh, that was an Inreach. So it was made by Garmin. They got many different styles. You got one where you can just send an SOS with your location. Those are the cheaper models. I believe there is a monthly fee on those, but there's also other models that you can use that you can send a signal back where somebody can actually be watching your trek and know where you're currently at, and that sends out a signal every 10 minutes. I've actually had people use that. And then you can send text messages. So those are a little more expensive, but also are worth their weight in gold.
All right, thank you. From Christopher, what do you enjoy most while volunteering as a wilderness patroller?
I enjoy talking to people and trying to find ways to enlighten them about the hiking experiences of the Mount San Jacinto State Park and to be safe.
Yeah. From Tracy again, useful info on the sticks. Thanks. Okay, she was asking that question and she liked your answer. And Adam says, awesome, thanks. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I, again, definitely second that. Well, Royce, would you like to just tell us a few words about our programs that we have when we can? Obviously, we didn't have it in 2020. It was canceled because of COVID. But Royce is a very integral part of those programs. So what could you tell our folks about those?
In a better situation, like in 2019, this presentation, we would have met at the Long Valley Ranger Station, and we would have gone off trail to a location that you would never have seen before and be able to give you an enlightenment of the Mount San Jacinto State Park. And then we'd have our class, and then we'd hike you back in maybe a different location. So we've had a lot of fun, but we've also educated a lot of people along the ways. Some of the other classes we've done is the map and compass. And those are fun, but it's not for the hiking light of heart, because when we go off trail, it means it's going to be a little bit harder of a hike to be able to get to your location. But we've enjoyed them.
Yes. I failed to mention that this program, like all of our programs, will be posted online, probably within a day or two of the program itself. So all you need to do to find it and to maybe share it with your friends or other people, especially other hikers or backpackers, is to go to msjnha.org, and you will see that link on the invitation that was originally sent out to you. Those of you that have now signed up for this, if you had never signed up for anything before, will be on our mailing list, and the upcoming programs you will be informed of the upcoming programs The next one is on June, the second week, second Tuesday in June. I don't have the date in front of me, but that will be also a very, very interesting program and a very topical program with respect to climate change and adaptation and something about speciation and evolution as well. So it's a very comprehensive and very interesting program that will be presented by Colin Barrows, and don't be sure not to miss it. Let's see if we have any more last minute questions and or comments. No. So thank you very much, Royce. It was just a marvelous talk. Your speaking is extraordinary. I really appreciate it. And
thank you very much.
Okay,
and my
folks.
background there is Eagle Rock.
Oh, where is Eagle Rock? That Eagle Rock.
It's actually over near Manitou. I think it's Manitou Springs, Warner Springs.
Oh, Warner Springs. Oh, okay.
Warner Springs.
In San Diego County.
That's actually along the Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, okay. Great, great. All right. Thank you again. And folks, that ends our program tonight. So we'll be signing off and come to see us again.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Good night. Good night, all.
Good night.
Okay, Royce, I think I haven't shut down. Anyhow, that does it.
Yeah, we had a fair group.
We did. It was just really, really excellent. I can't thank you enough for your professionalism and your organization. Everything was just perfect, really.
Well, thank you. I've had a lot of fun, a lot of training.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.